but I'm not sure. I don't know if it definitely was one of those, just a flash. I can try to show you a scrub robin quickly, just to show you what they look like. Beautiful little birds, also very melodious call. I'm actually going to show you on the app rather. The app tends to have some nice pictures of the robins. So let me just find it for you quickly. It's also a little bit easier to find. And here is that little scrub robin. And you see that beautiful speckled. I'm going to just scroll and show you. Luckily they do generally have pictures of them. There we go, that's a little scrub robin. Beautiful rufous brown tail, brownish on the back, white underneath with a bit of streaking, and that very prominent white brow that you can see. The white-browed scrub robin. Beautiful bird, and I think that's possibly what I caught a glimpse of, just flying through the thicket. They do dart off fairly quickly. A lovely little bird. I'm just listening. I can hear some starlings alarm calling. It's a very, very harsh call, very harsh shriek. Now, unfortunately, can't do it. And in the distance, I can't see where they are at the moment. Probably about 100 meters away. Now they'll alarm call at a number of things. Probably snakes, but also mongoose. In that, if a little mongoose is running around, these starlings will go through and try and mob the mongoose to chase it away, because mongoose will try and raid the nests and possibly go for the eggs. The other thing they could potentially be alarm calling at is maybe an owl of sorts. If there's a little owl sitting in a tree, a pearl-spotted owl or a scops owl, if they do see owls, the starlings will also mob them, and it's purely because it's a bird of prey. Even though it's no threat to the starlings, they'll still mob them and chase it away. They seem to have kept quiet now, so perhaps they just saw something run past, maybe a little mongoose, and they just upset them and they decided to mob them. I know Brent yesterday morning, in fact, saw that black mamba with the starlings mobbing it, and that's a good sign when you hear those bird calls that there could be something in that area. Alright, let us carry on. Let's head back to Stef on the bushwalk and see what he's got.
Talking about what happened yesterday and a few days ago, during the rain last week, I happened to find a beautiful jewel beetle that was on an acacia like this. And so what I did was I stopped at this acacia, not expecting much to be honest, but found it to be just absolutely covered in beetles. There are more jewel beetles here. That is a jewel beetle, just a tiny one. And there must be a couple of hundred on this particular tree, and it's just a small little tree. You can see that beautiful iridescent green color on the side of the wings and on the head. Now we are coming to you live all the way from the African bush on foot, so you'd excuse please the odd shake as we come in close like that. Is an incredibly difficult skill to learn, is keeping this camera work steady. And we've got what I've been expecting for the last couple of weeks around this side. Come and have a look here. There's been an absolute explosion of flies. Now, one of the two protein sources that are in the bush over here that are such high value to all the animals here are flies during the day and termites during the evenings. And animals from all over the world, as far away as Russia, come all the way down to South Africa to partake in this feast. Obviously birds fly the furthest, but every number of insect here enjoys this feast. And I've been waiting to see these spiders come out. And here we go, there's an orb spider. This is the first spider that builds an orb web that I've seen this season. So as excited as what we are to see the woodland kingfisher and the first impala lambs, that is how I'm getting for this particular spider. And I'm welcoming this spider. I cannot wait to see what has happened. This year has been a particularly good year for flies. The reason being is last year with the low rainfall there was very low insect numbers, and that meant that there were very low spider numbers. And so pretty much for an entire year, the flies here have been uneaten, and their volume at the moment is just intense. It's escalated, especially over the last couple of months, with the sheer number of carcasses that have been unfed and basically just lying around the bush. Basically just been leaving these flies to breed all over the place, and I'm waiting for the spider numbers to increase, and I'm expecting this year to have a very increased spider volume. So we'll see when we get to January and February and March, but I'm expecting the bush to be festooned with spider webs when we get to that time of the year. All right, we're going to send you over to Jamie, who's got something she'd like to show you.
Oh, speaking of exciting arrivals, I have got such a beautiful bird to show to you. A pair of plum-coloured or violet-backed starlings. Now, the one that you're looking at is the female. She's particularly drab-coloured, but the bird gets its name from the exquisite colours of the male. And he is here. He's going to pop out. That's the female. The male is just to the right of her. They're busy. Oh, no. Oh, starling! You chased them away! Why? Hold on. I can still see it. Hold on. We're going to go back. Starling? That was rude. One starling species chasing another away. Can still see it. Oh, let's try and get it. No, don't do that. Come back here. You horrible bird. Not a horrible bird, it's a beautiful bird. And I really want you to see it. No! Ah! The joys of live safaris. Hold on, I'm going to get this bird on camera. It's very relaxed. It just won't sit still. Hold on, I'm going to find it again for you. The female's beautiful, but the male is more beautiful. And gone. You got him. Back or forward? Well done, Gendre. Yes! Haha. There we go. The plum-coloured or violet-backed starling, and that's the male. Very, very different to the female. And when you catch them in the right sort of light, which hopefully we shall do, you'll have a chance to see the exquisite colours of the bright purple. There we go. I was quite determined to get this particular bird on camera. They are so pretty. Shining beautifully. And just by the way, we did get your updates, thank you, about the lion at Djuma Dam. I was on my way there before I got distracted by this particular bird. I'm trying to remember which way round. I always knew them as plum-coloured, which must mean that the new name is a violet-backed starling. And there's been a concerted effort between birding societies of various countries to basically make the names uniform. Because, of course, different countries call the same bird different names. So that's why the names recently of some of the birds have changed. And they've also changed in terms of getting a better idea, in the case, for example, of the grey go-away bird, a better idea as to their family structure and their relatives and their connections in terms of their taxonomy. So that's why a lot of the names have changed, which is why you'll often hear all of us as guides, because we of course grew up with the old names, you'll always hear us refer to the first name and then correct ourselves and call it by its new and official name. I do the same thing with gymnogenes, the harrier hawks. I do it with the wood hoopoes. I keep calling them red-billed, and they're actually green wood hoopoes. So it's the same bird. Tomato, tomato kind of deal. Come on, son. We need you to show off the beautiful plumage of this particular bird. Shine upon us. I'm a little bit cross with the other starling because it was such a perfect position earlier. It was so close to the car. It was just glimmering. Oh, well, at least we managed to get it in the end. I'm just going to find a picture for you in my book to give you an idea of why exactly it is called a violet-backed starling. I haven't moved very far this morning. Hold on a second. There we go. Sorry, I forgot what the bird was called. I confused myself with the names. Here we go. I don't know. I don't quite know how that happened, but it did, and I got confused. There we go. That is the Violet-backed Starling. A truly beautiful, beautiful bird. And you can get an idea in my book, since the light is not cooperating with us at the moment, but at least the artist rendition is. You can get an idea from my book that just how shiny its plumage is. There's the female, of course, the one that we saw, with her streaked chest, completely different to the male. We've just had them returned to us. They are inter-African migrants. In other words, they go up more into sort of Central Africa during our winter months. So they are back, much like the orbs, not the orbs, the golden orb spiders, and the woodlands kingfishers that I can hear chirring away. Right, let's go find that lion now, since my starling is being uncooperative. I want to take a shortcut. Forgive me, I'm sure I'll be forgiven. We're not really meant to use this road while we're live, but I'm just going to nip through. It's much quicker than going all the way around, especially since this is the direction he was heading in. So while I nip through, let's go over to Stef, who's found another summer arrival. Not arrival, that's not what I meant to say at all.
You know, sometimes just like that violet-backed starling that Jamie has, and I must be honest with you, it's one of my favorite birds out here, is that violet-backed starling. Just that male with that absolutely startling white chest and that iridescence on him. They are quite spectacular. But just as spectacular are these other small little things that we find from time to time. And have a look at this little visitor that is underneath here. For some or other odd reason, this young leopard tortoise has decided to crawl underneath this stump. I have no doubt he was trying to get away from us, hiding a little bit. And he's a couple of seasons old. When they're born, they're probably about half that size when they're born. And so he's managed to survive his first whole and full season, one of the most difficult ones. In actual fact, probably the most difficult one in the last 110 years. So he has got the survivor gene, as we like to call it. He's busy trying to get deeper underneath the stump. I don't quite know why he's doing that. You're going to get lost there, buddy. That, and I'm going to get bitten by a violin spider. And just have a look at how superbly colored he is, don't you think? I'll put him away now. Oh, this is just a dangerous stump to touch. I must be honest with you, I'll show you that now. And just have a look at that. Very nervous, still covered in dung and bits and pieces of sawdust. Isn't that incredible? I'll put him away now. And have a look here. That's what I'm worried about getting bitten by. Is those two spiders inside there. They are the Violin spider, and one of the most venomous spiders that we find out here. You get bitten by that guy and you've got some problems. They've got quite a violently cytotoxic venom, which means that they are cell destroying. The venom itself breaks down the cell walls of our cells and creates necrosis, which of course can lead to septicemia, and you can get quite horrible scars from bites from the spider. So out here in the bush, it's always a good thing not to put your fingers underneath a piece of wood when you're picking it up. They're quite fast moving, even though now they're standing quite still. At night time they are free roaming, and they roam around here looking for food, and they go back to their haunts in the daytime. And it's there that you get bitten mostly. Let's put this back. without getting bitten, and giving that tortoise a little bit of shelter as well. Just make sure that he's not stuck. There we go. Hidden, not stuck, all safe and sound, and we can carry on with our day. Why we're walking in this particular area is not only to try and follow up on what those impala have been giving alarm calls for, but also there's a series of quite nice pans here. And I just want to see how much water these pans are still busy holding, to be quite honest. Now, Coffee, you just asked me if the violin spider is like the brown recluse spider. Yes. I think the recluses are the widows. No, they're not. They're exactly the violin spider. So the brown recluse is the violin spider. I was getting mixed up between them and the black widows, but the black widows or the widow spiders are different to the recluses. These are the recluses, and I'm sure you get recluse spiders or members of the recluse spiders all over the world. They're a fairly common venomous spider all over the world. And but here, that is the species that we find here. I think it's Securidae is the genus, yeah, one of those ones that you don't really want to get bitten by. A very common spider to get bitten by, or people who are envenomated by spiders are quite often bitten by the violin spiders, mainly because we all live in an area here where burning of firewood is one of the primary sources of fuel to cook with and to stay warm with, and so quite often these spiders leave stumps in wood piles that have been collected, and they're close to homesteads, and because they're free roaming you find them quite often around houses. Now back to why we're here. There's a series of pans here that I wanted to visit today. And we've now gotten to one. This is one of the more unusual pans that I visit, and it's because it's right on the side of an enormous termite mound. So this pan here that we're having a look at over here fills up with water and mud, obviously, and was home, it looks like, to a lot of buffalo and elephant last year, but has holding absolutely no water now. It's weird. Some pans here hold water, others don't. It's just bizarre for me to actually find out why. And it's not because there's a lack of clay here. This is all clay, so it does have its waterproof lining. Just one of those mysteries. Anyway, on this mysterious front, why don't you go find out what Byron is up to?
Thanks. Now, there is quite a mystery going on here, everyone. Now, I have just seen some leopard tracks walking all along the road, and then the leopard cut off and cut south onto Vuyatelo, onto Djuma, and then all of a sudden the whole pride, the Nkahuma pride tracks just popped out, and now I don't see them anymore. I'd like to see which direction they've gone. Let's just have a look around here. So definitely the whole pride, I can see tracks of the cubs as well as the females, but I think I heard, not sure, I didn't hear an update from anybody. Where have those tracks gone now? Should be here. There we go. Okay. Let's jump off here, stick with us, let's just see which direction these tracks have gone, so we can get a better idea. So they're line tracks all over here at the moment, all over the road, the little cubs, the females, and they've come along here, and okay, I'll have to just have a careful look around here. I want to see which direction they've gone. There's nice soft sand on this side of the road. I'm having a look. I don't see any tracks around here now. I've got a feeling they've crossed in here somewhere. I just need to find some soft sand now to see if we can see the tracks. Sure, it is sometimes difficult on this hard sand, especially these areas where there's a lot of vegetation, and this soil here is very, very hard, very, very hard from just it's probably from rain and that it's caked a little bit. It's not, so you can't necessarily see very clear tracks. But hang on, here we go. Okay, there's a lioness track over here, everyone. So it's going in this direction. And I'm just looking around because you never know, they could be very, very close. Just want to have a quick look here, and then we'll take a little road down and drive and see if they which direction they've crossed. But it is quite hard. Yeah, this sand or this soil is very, very hard, so a bit difficult to track. You've got to look very carefully, and it's times like these I wish my friend Judas, who was a tracker that I used to work with, I wish he was around, because he was just incredible. He had a sixth sense about tracking animals. But it does look like these lions have crossed onto Djuma, onto Violet. So I'm going to see which direction they've gone, and we're going to take a little road that leads down. Maybe we're lucky and we still find them this morning. That would be great. Let's have a look. So now we're trying to track the whole pride, but Jamie has found one of the males.
I have to be completely honest, I didn't have to look very far for this particular male lion. He is very, very close to the Djuma Dam, and I think it was him that we heard roaring away this morning while we were sitting with those ground hornbills. We're sitting with Mfumo, one of the 4 Birmingham boys and the 4 dominant male lions in this area. It is lovely to see him, and what is truly impressive, of course, about Mfumo is the level of healing that he has shown in terms of fixing his body, fixing that unbelievable injury that he had on his face. There was a time when we were actually concerned about what sort of impact it was having on his health. You can just see it now vaguely, just a little open wound on the left-hand side of, well, his right, our left-hand side of his nose. It still hurts every now and again. You can see there's a little bit of a twitch to his face, but other than that, it is looking really very good. Male lions, of course, wear their histories in the form of scars across their faces, and dominant male lions are always scratched up and scarred and almost grizzled looking. And it's all testament to their dedication in terms of establishing and creating a territory for themselves, which isn't always an easy process. And then, of course, once you've established a territory, now you've got, in this case, 3 other males to contend with when it comes time for meal times and for mating with females. And as a result, the odd lions don't really sit down and have a polite conversation or perhaps conflict resolution. It is all resolved by fighting with each other. Hello, big boy. Sometimes I look at them and it's hard to believe they're the same male lions we saw a year ago, or a year and a half ago, when they first started moving in. I know they were seen before that, but for me, my first sighting of them was around July last year. And it's quite extraordinary, the difference in the lions that came in and the lions that we have now. Established dominant males, their manes have filled out. They're still doing what male lions do best, which is that. Having a jolly good snooze. Hey boy. And he's been up all night making lots and lots and lots of noise. He's tired now. All of that roaring and patrolling takes its toll. And now he just wants to have a little bit of a nap. Now he, of course, could tell us where the Nkuhumas are. I'm sure he knows. Unfortunately, I don't speak lion, or at least not much lion, not very fluently. I can't ask him. Hey, big boy. To me, He is Mfumo, or Birmingham Boy number 4. To me, he is the biggest of... Well, I haven't seen all 4 of them. Actually, Chandra and I were just talking about this now. It has been a long time since we've seen all 4 of them together. Actually, properly together. They've been in the same area a few times, but to see all 4 of them together is now a rare sight indeed, which is common with coalitions. They've got to split off and patrol different parts of the territory, make sure that all of their boundaries are protected, and occasionally spend a little bit more time with one pride or another. So in the case of Tinyo and Mfumo, they spend more time with the Nkuhumas. But it's been a long time since we've been able to compare all of them. Oh, so sleepy. It's a relatively short and very tough life that the male lions lead, but it looks as though, at least in the case of the Nkuhumas, and hopefully for the new generation of Styx cubs, it looks as though they will have a legacy to leave behind. And that, of course, is the aim of all male lions: survival and propagating their own genetic line. And that is worth, to them, that is worth everything. It's worth fighting to the death for, in order to establish themselves. And some of them never manage it. Some just don't succeed. They never manage to establish a territory. But these boys have done well. 5 initially, for our newer viewers, a bit of background. There were 5 of them. They called the Birmingham Boys because they came from an area, well, actually came from a pride known as, in theory, from the Birmingham Pride. And the Birmingham Pride gets its name from a property called Birmingham, which is obviously not the actual Birmingham city, but a place just outside of Orpen Gate. Of course, it's all open to the Kruger and to the Sabi Sand, and they came in 5 of them a year and a half ago, pumped up full of testosterone, kicked out the dominant Matimba males, and have since established themselves as the dominant kings, at least of this area. And it was a brutal takeover, not so much for the Matimbas, because the Matimbas legged it, and who can blame them? They were getting to the stage where they were older. It was time for them to move out of that area anyway, whilst they ran the risk of mating with their own daughters. So it was a good thing that happened, but it was a little bit it was very traumatic for many of us and many of you that have got to know the lions over the past few years. The deaths of several Nkuhumas, and of course the Styx cubs. All natural part of the takeover process. Is that a scratch on his leg? Yeah. Deep scars that they bear. It's healed up perfectly. I don't remember seeing that, but deep scratches, probably from fighting with one of the other males. Could even have been those could even have happened when he was fighting with Tinyo, with Brent. Way at him. And he's been and had his drink now. Hard to judge how full he is. Looking at him now, I don't think he's eaten much recently. My suspicion as well, because yesterday, of course, with Byron, he was with Tinyo, and the two of them were treating us to an incredible display of their auditory, that's not what I meant, of their roaring prowess. Incredible sounds that come through. Were you going to roar for us? No, just sniffing the air. I suspect that Tinyo is not far away. They generally stick together, these two. While we wait to see what our male lion decides to do, Stef has arrived at a mud wallow.
Isn't that male lion absolutely magnificent? I must say I'm quite envious of you. We don't get to see male lions on foot from that distance as easily as what you've just seen it. But what we do get to see is a bunch of little things that are, for me at least, just as interesting. What you were just having a look at over there was a clover field. Now, we've said that we're going to come and look at a bunch of these basically pans that have been filled up with water a couple of weeks ago with the rain that we had in the area, and are now slowly sinking and slowly starting to stagnate. And they go through a life cycle much like anything else, with little plant and animal communities popping into being. This one is particularly old, I think, and it's starting to dry out quite quickly, and I'm seeing, just looking at it, it's starting to bubble and it's starting to stagnate quite badly. Now, nothing much can get into it because this elephant has managed to push this tree down over the pan. And what is quite weird is that it doesn't even have, this is almost the perfect habitat for a foam nest frog, and it doesn't even have a single foam nest frog nest in it. It's worrying, you know. I wonder exactly what type of effect this drought has had on the frog populations around here. You know, a lot of frogs live longer than 1 year, and they have porous skin, and they can dehydrate through their skin. And I'm wondering, you know, looking at this, which is, I would expect there to be a number of foam nest frog nests on this particular tree. There isn't even one, not even an old one. That's not because this pond has sprung into being over the last 24 hours. This water has been here for a good couple of weeks, which would have enabled any of the frogs in the area to come out of their hiding places and to mate with one another, and they create this foamy white ball of eggs. And we have seen a couple of pans. I think Byron was showing us one the other day. Couple of pans in the area. I've seen one of the pans in the area with a foam nest frog on my walks through here, but this one has nothing. So yeah, question is, right now I suppose, what effect has the drought had on the frog populations here? Now, Melissa, you've wanted to know, did we get any of the rain that was expected yesterday? No, Melissa, we didn't. It clouded up quite nicely last night. We could hear thunder in the distance, but no rain came, which is sort of the hallmark of this particular place. But we are expecting rain over the weekend, substantial rain in actual fact, coming in from the tropics. Quite often the big rain that we get here in South Africa is from tropical cyclones in January, February, March that come in over the Indian Ocean and over Mozambique. And then in the earlier parts of the year, so November, December areas, we get moist air that comes from the inside of Africa, coming all the way down from the tropics, from the equator, coming down in these fingers and tongues into South Africa, and can sit sedentary over a place for a number of days, giving us a lot of rain. And that is what we're seeing developing at the moment, coming in from equatorial Africa all the way down across Zimbabwe or Botswana, one of the two, and then dipping into South Africa, giving us some rain. And that's the rain that they are predicting comes over this weekend. That's what we're hoping for, at least anyway. If we can get a large amount of rain. What we don't want here is massive amounts of rain in a very, very short space of time, because it all just runs away and takes with all the precious soil as well. What we want is a steady sort of rain, which will play havoc with our show, to be quite honest with you, but I think we'll all understand. Rain is such a special thing. All right, so why don't we go through to Byron, who is wanting to give you an update, and I suppose at some point you're going to go and see that lion again.
So we're still in search of these lions. I haven't had any further luck with the tracks. They did head off the road and into quite a thick block. So I'm just trying to see and scan very carefully around this area. Maybe we get lucky, who knows. And it's always exciting when you are tracking like this, looking for animals. But it is difficult for us because you do miss tracks when you are just driving the vehicle. It helps if you've got someone sitting on the front, perhaps looking for tracks while you're driving. And as I said, that substrate or that soil that we were on earlier was very, very hard, and I couldn't see any tracks. And I went back and just took a little walk around there, and I did see some of the lions did move further south, so into this area off to my right. And I think they're possibly in this area somewhere. Trying to check the road too the whole time. So now it's a case of checking the road for tracks and then still scanning and having a look around to see if we can't get a glimpse of a lion perhaps in the thicket, in the bush. And they're starting to warm up, so chances are that possibly they have gone to lie down already. And every time I look down in hoping to see a track, just to put us on the right track again. Give us a direction at least, anything. Some birds flying around. I'm trying to listen to the other guys on the radio too. I did update them and told them exactly where the tracks were. I just want to hear if any of them are heading into this area to possibly look for lion. And we also saw a leopard track, a big male leopard track. That seemed to carry on along the road, along the main cut line. But I did hear somebody call in those leopard tracks, or tracks of a leopard, a little bit earlier this morning, but further into Violet, into Djuma. So it could potentially be the same leopard. I mean, leopards do cover huge distances constantly. And it's just those lion tracks looked very fresh. They did look like they were from this morning sometime. Again, it is tough to tell. Probably late last night, early this morning that they moved through the area. But it is exciting, and you never know. We could come around the corner and possibly bump into them somewhere. And just keep scanning, keep having a look. And this is part of a safari. That's the thing. While you're out here, you've got to track, you've got to take time, and it doesn't just happen immediately. Sometimes we get lucky and we bump into the animals, but you've got to spend time tracking, listening, and working out where these animals have moved to find them. And because they're wild animals, they'll move wherever they want. And that's why I love it so much, is because you never know. There's no guarantee. There's never a guarantee in the bush. Stef seems to be interested in wallowing this morning. He's at another mud wallow.
I'm interested in wallowing. Doesn't that mud look delicious to you? Looks like something on a hot day that you just want to climb into and let the wind cool off. I mean, not the fact that you'll end up brown here, but I found something that has made me feel a little bit better about the frogs that we were talking about. Here is the frog nest. Now, Liz, this is geared, I suppose, a question that is aimed directly at what your comment has just been. This is a foam nest frog nest where the eggs have already hatched and fallen out the bottom, and I would expect that there's a mass of foam nest frog tadpoles inside this particular dam or pan. So definitely made me feel a little bit better about what I expect to find in this particular area, and made me feel good about the fact that there's still some foam nest frogs here. But your actual question was, would the frogs have migrated to find a different area with more permanent water? The answer to that is no, Liz, not as far as I can know. Frogs don't really migrate from one place to another. They get brought in. So frogs' eggs get transported in a whole variety of different ways, on the bodies of wallowing buffalo and hippopotamus, on the legs of birds, and they sort of will arrive in a pan. Who knows how exactly they get there, but they'll arrive in a pan, and that population then is in that area and around that pan. If the pan had to dry up and the water had to leave, they can move a certain distance, of course, but they can't really move that much. They're not going to be able to go, for instance, from here to the escarpment where there is a little bit more permanent water, that's a journey that is out of the capacity of these frogs to do. So no, they would just die out locally and then be brought in again from other areas with wading birds and buffalo and hippo, all that sort of thing. Let's see what else is here. These pans can sometimes just hold the most amazing life. We've seen 1 or 2 spiders here that hunt for insects coming to drink on the water's edge, and also for tadpoles and even some small fish. Let me see if we can find one for you. They're a species of lynx spider. There we go, on the water. Let's see now. I'm going to show you where the spider is, and let's see if we can show you. They use the meniscus on the water to move from place to place. They've got these waxy covered hairs on their legs, and the spider itself is there. There. And let's see if we can get him to hop over the water. Get ready, it's going to be quick if it does happen. There he goes. Look at that. The wind is blowing him across the water. Isn't that the most amazing thing you've ever seen? Come on. They can give you quite a nip. Doesn't want to go onto the water anymore. It's called my bluff. Come on, dude. There you go. Isn't that the best thing? Just spreading the weight over the water. And of course the meniscus of the water is that area of stable water that the pressure from below is cancelled by the air pressure from above, and is allowing this spider. Let's see if I can blow it. That is just the most amazing thing, skating on top of the water like that. And of course, it will be able to pick up any drowned insects that it finds floating on the top. It will be able to catch certain insects. Oh, that is just amazing. Did you get that? I hope some of you managed to get some video or some screenshots of that. And slow it down if you can. Have a look at the way that they walk and they bounce across the water. So what they do is actually push against the water, which pushes back using one of Newton's laws of physics, and it'll use that elasticity of the meniscus to bounce across the water. Isn't that just incredible? Hunting that way. Just one of the most amazing ways that the spiders here can find a niche almost anywhere to get their food. Alright, now do I stand up over here and lose half my head to this buffalo thorn? There we go. Gotta worry yourself out here when you are swinging about like I do, as I said. So I didn't bash my head, but I did end up ripping my finger open. Not such a bad one today. Not shedding too many drops. Alright, let's go and carry on. There's a series of one more of these pans in this particular area. Looking forward to seeing what type of life is there really. Right, and while we get to the next pan, which is admittedly a little bit of a distance away in that direction, why don't we go see what Byron's up to.
Alright, I've just spotted a little antelope off to the right, everyone. Let's see if we can see it. Hopefully it stands there. Look at that beautiful little duiker. Now it's trying to hide away from us, and usually they run away very quickly. So it is great that we managed to spot him. And I've switched off. I'm sitting quietly. Hopefully it doesn't run away, but it definitely can see us. It's just trying to hide behind the trees there. See how those legs are shaking? Probably just trying to get rid of some flies that are sitting on it. Now, these duiker are elusive and they do tend to run away very quickly. So it's great to see this little one, even though its face is hiding. And I wonder if I don't try roll forward a little bit. I'm not on a big enough slope to roll. No, the vehicle's not rolling anyway. I'm worried that if I do start the vehicle, it might run off. But let's... Oh, there we go. There you can see its face. Wonderful. Isn't that lovely? It's so nice to see some different antelope. See how it keeps looking at us through the branches. I think possibly thinks because it can just see us that we can't really see it. Maybe that's why it's still so relaxed. Hang on, it might. There we go. Just moving out. Beautiful male duiker. Oh, wonderful. That is a great view. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, very nice. A nice little surprise. A little duiker. One of the smallest antelope we get in this area, and that's full grown. That's a full grown little male. Isn't that wonderful? Nice to see. Still no luck with the lions, everybody. Oh, but hang on. See, when you stop and you look at antelope and other little creatures, you start seeing interesting little things. And look at this. Hang on. Look at that beautiful feather. I wonder if you can actually pick up on the iridescence there. But it has got a slightly blue coloration to it. And beautiful iridescence. Trying to see. You can't really see it, can you? On the camera, or can you? That's very, very beautiful. Just that beautiful blue and slightly purple iridescence. Now I think this is most likely from a starling. I think that's what this feather is from. Probably a Birchall starling, judging by the size. And it's funny, depending on the angle I hold it at, the colors there, it's completely brown if I hold it at this angle, and there, as the light hits it, I get that beautiful purple and bluish coloration to it. So there seems to be a little bit of confusion this morning with the lions, and one guy says that he thinks they found the lions, and then nobody else knows who found the lions, and I don't think they really know what's going on. It's quite entertaining. We had the lion tracks. That's what we had, and we still think, and I still think they're in this block somewhere, possibly, because don't see any tracks coming out. Again, it's very difficult to drive and track at the same time. Yeah, and even though we might be a little bit confused about where these lions are, but Jamie isn't. She has got one. Let's head back to her and see what it's up to.
I'm so sorry. I'm just right in the middle of a conversation that will give us a very, very exciting moment spent with an unusual bird. Sorry, bear with me one moment. Oh, sorry. Dual transmission there. Whereabouts were those birds? Oh, awesome. Thank you. I know that pair. I'm pretty sure I know which tree that is. Thanks so much. I'm going to be making my way there shortly. Open lock. Sorry, everybody. Whenever we do call in birds, it's usually for quite an exciting reason. So that's why I'm just trying. I know you're looking at a lion and I'm busy talking about a bird. But for our newer viewers, I'm using a radio that allows us to connect with all of the guides in the area so that we can share information, so that we can plan out our searches and our mornings and our afternoons, where we're going to go, how we're going to do things. And of course, also to make sure that these animals don't get mobbed by vehicles. So, of course, in certain areas where that isn't the case, you get lots and lots of vehicles moving around. Whereas in this particular area, it is restricted to 3 at a time, sometimes less. But Sometimes we do use the Game Drive channel to share exciting and unusual sightings, and I'm going to be going to this particular bird in the not too distant future. It's not a new one for some of you will have seen them before, but I do really enjoy them. So I don't think Mfumo is going to be up to too much. I think we'll leave him after this. We'll leave him in the next few minutes and we'll go off in search of that bird before the end of the sunset safari. But for now, Mfumo is snoozing away quite happily. He was restless for a little while. He was sort of flopping, rolling over, flicking his tail. No yawns, but he did look as though he wasn't quite fully relaxed. But I have to tell you now, that's a very relaxed looking lion. That is a lion that doesn't have too much on his mind and isn't really planning on going terribly far. So we'll probably leave him shortly. Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, we're back. Okie dokie. So the audio came back just in time for my stomach to rumble, is essentially what you're saying. We get up very early, okay? And sometimes a breakfast is much needed. And I'm sure Mfumo agrees. I'm reassessing how full he is. He has actually had a meal relatively recently. Perhaps he joined the Nkuhumas last night, I'm not sure. But he's not empty-bellied. He's relatively round. All in all, full stomach. He's just had a drink. And now he's got a nice comfortable patch of ground with guaranteed shade. I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. I'm still just flabbergasted by the healing power of animals, I have to say. And for a human being, imagine having a seething open wound or seeping open wound very badly infected right on your sinuses and your cheek, to the point that it was bubbling when he breathed. Imagine a human being with an injury like that. You'd be in hospital, you'd be on 10 different types of antibiotics. We are just, at this point, no longer on quite the same level as the animals. Of course, there's lots of reasons for that. We can't really compare us. We're apples and oranges. But it is the amount of pain that they are able to bear and the speed of their healing and the resilience of their bodies to infection is humbling, I think is perhaps the good word. Almost all of the animals out here have a way of humbling us, whether it's their senses or their strength or their speed. We're relatively, obviously intellectually we're a different kettle of fish, but biologically we're relatively a feeble species. Now, I'm going to go and find you the exciting bird, hopefully. While I do that, Stef has arrived at his final mud wallow.
We have, and just have a look at this massive expanse of water that we have here. This is about the size that a natural pan gets to out here. And this one is full. Other than the first one that we went to in the series, which had no water in, this one is holding quite a lot of water. And there where you are, on that side of the pan, it's probably about knee deep. So it's a relatively deep water pond and is holding water much better than any of the others. Not quite as much going on here though as there was at the previous pan, but I would suspect that if we did a quick inspection around here and saw what tracks there were, that it could quite easily be a better pan for large mammal tracks. And it's because they've got these beach areas. Where I'm standing right now, there's another one across over there and another one over there roundabouts, and I think let's VM walk you across from that side of the pan and come and join me on this side of the pan, and let's see what tracks we can find here together. We've got a genet track here. Hang on, let's go and see what that is. This is an interesting track right here. The long toes and the long claws, you can see the long claws there. I mean, I'm gonna say that it's probably a porcupine. And what we're looking at here is this track here in the middle of the sand there. If it was a honey badger, the claws would be much further away from the actual pad, and you've got these very robust claws quite close to the pad but pushed into the mud here. And then you've got quite an involved pad system, plus the fifth vestigial pad there. Now, what I immediately thought when I first walked up to here is, it's a water mongoose because of this very long toe. But looking at it like this now, you can realize that it's just the depth that the pad has been pushed into the mud shows me that it's most likely a porcupine. Let us come to have a drink over there. Let's carry on around this side a little bit and let's see what other tracks we can find. Here we have some duiker tracks from a common duiker. Here we have the track of a genet. Let's go around a little bit more. So easily one of these pans that is a little bit better from a larger animal point of view, not so much from frogs and spiders, and I think it's because it's so exposed. There's very little area here for the smaller animals to hide. And here we've got some rhinoceros. Here's the very large foot of a white rhinoceros. One toe there, and another toe here. It's another much older track here. So some rhinoceros. What else have we got here? Some nyala. And on this side, some impala. So quite a lot of tracks around this little pan. I mean, it's obviously a very busy pan. It's definitely a local watering hole, the local pub, so to say, where everyone comes and has a drink. Oh, look at all these insects on top of the water that you're looking at there. I'm going to have to get much closer to these to see what they are. Gee whiz. I don't know what they are actually. Oh, they are tiny little insects that live on they're like little flies that live on top of the water. Now, Dark Tranquility, you've asked me if we were stuck out here in the bush and you needed to drink water from this pan, is there any way to create a filter? There absolutely is. There's a whole bunch of ways you could create a filter, Dark Tranquility. The very best one to use is the material that we have on our bodies, with, in my opinion, the best one being a sock. So what you do is you take your sock off, and you could fill it with a variety of different things to filter out most of the debris, from it's coarse sand, which you can find in riverbeds close by, right at the bottom of the sock, and then layered with grass that you can find. And then you just pour the water in the top, or you scoop it up at the top with a snail shell or with a piece of bark or something, pouring it down into your sock, and the water that drips out the end will be fairly clear of debris. But in my opinion, you still need to boil that water. If you were desperate and you'd had no means of making a fire, you could of course chance it and drink it just like that. But with the relatively high phosphate content of the water that you find here, and also the fact that animals come in, defecate and urinate, animals die in the water, especially insects. You don't really know what type of bacteria is inside water like this, and so it's always best, as a rule of thumb, to heat up the water that you drink from pans like this. You need to heat it to above 60 degrees for longer than 10 minutes or so. So you've got to boil it quite vigorously, and then you've got to drink it if you need to. Needing about 2 liters of water a day here to maintain a healthy metabolism. That's how much you'll sweat out here just in the heat. So water is very, very important. If you were stuck out here in a survival situation, you would absolutely base yourself close to a water source, a permanent water source. Even something as dirty as this would and could save your life. Absolutely. All right, and that is our journey to these pans in this area at an end. We've now visited them all. I don't think there's another pan around here. There may be a seep that we can go and visit, and I think that's what we're going to go and do, and see if that seep is fairly active. Seeps are areas inside drainage lines and gullies where elephants have dug out, where water is close to the surface. We can go and see. I know of one or two around here. We can see if we can find one that's active for you, but I think it's a good idea to definitely go and have a look and see what we can find. And James Richard, thank you. You've said thank you to me for adding to your tracking collection. And I'm glad that you actually have a tracking list going there, James. That's quite a nice thing to do. Equally as nice as a bird list. All right, so why don't we send you through to Byron for an update, and we'll catch up with you if we find one of those seeps.
Okay, so I'm having a good look in this area for these owls. I know Jamie wanted to come and have a look, but we've been tracking these lions around here. No luck yet on the lions. So I'm hoping that I can show you some owls. Something at least. It's sometimes a bit frustrating when you are trying to look for animals and you just can't see where the tracks are heading, but that's the way it goes. It does happen like that. So I'm trying to have a look. I am in this area where they saw two white-faced owls. So I'm just scanning very carefully. Hopefully we'll see them shortly. Not too far from that area, I think, but there's a little confusion which road they were on actually. But I think I know where they are. Let's just have a look. Okay, I'm going to look around here. I think this is the area that they were in. Let's look very, very carefully. It's difficult to spot these little owls at times. Oh dear, oh dear. Sure, everyone, this is very difficult, trying to find out where they spotted two little owls. I'm on the road that they've said it's on. I don't see anything just yet. I have no idea where to look now. Hang on a second, maybe it was definitely off the fire break apparently. Let's see. Keep your eyes peeled, Eggsy. A lot of
Oh, dearie me, it seems as though poor Byron has lost signal. The attack of the gremlins, as we call it, which does happen. You can imagine bringing you a live safari. It's all very complicated. I'd love to explain it in great depth, but I'm not at liberty to disclose such things, and also I have no idea how it works. But I can tell you that I think I know where those owls are, and I'm going to go and help Byron. I wasn't going to go into that area if Byron was there, but since he is having a little bit of a tricky time, which is fair enough, those owls are impossible to, not impossible, but they're very difficult to see. Oh, much chattering in my ear. they are difficult to see if you don't know where they are, and I think I know where they are. I'm going to look like I'm going to embarrass myself. Let's rephrase that entirely before. I'm going to embarrass myself if I get there and I can't find them. But now it's a race. Now I have to get there and find them before Byron finds them. Things could get a little tricky here. A race to them. The good news is they're probably not going anywhere. In fact, the chances of them moving are about as high as the chances of Mfumo moving off from where he is right now. Now, ideally, I'd like to slip up Nyala Road North right now. That could, however, mean that I go into Gremlin Hollow as well, just to warn you all. But it would be much quicker for me to take that particular route, and we are running out of time. I can't believe I'm racing towards the sighting. I did something silly. I went off in the opposite direction. When Byron said he was closer, I just turned off and went the opposite way. How do you feel about Nyala Road North, Rebecca? Do we feel brave today? Or not so much? Yes, we do feel brave. We do feel brave. Let's do it. An elephant. Where was the elephant? Was it? Oh, okay, so it was a faraway elephant. Not that I usually drive past elephants, but today. Okay, well, we haven't got to Nyala Road North just yet, but we're about to. It's one of my favorite roads, and unfortunately it's one of the worst signal patches, just in terms of our broadcast stuff. Something interferes with the thingamajig and it makes it all go black. I don't know. My summary. Just checking sort of as quickly and as thoroughly as possible to make sure that Tingana isn't somewhere here. There were male leopard tracks crossing onto Djuma and moving in this direction. I think that's where Stef and Herbert have been, around the area, around the vicinity of those tracks. I don't think they've seen anything though, but there's always a chance that we might just bump into Tingana somewhere along here. Hold on. Bumpy, bumpy. Sorry, everybody. Okay. False alarm. A civet track combined with a zebra track made for some confusing tracks. You okay there, Jandre? Right, Nyala Road North. Here we come. Not to be melodramatic, but I might disappear off your screens any second now. It is Rusty though. Rusty's been okay. So far so good. Whee! Little slide down the rocky bit. This is where the Nkuhumas first introduced us to their cubs. The first three were there. That exact spot. When the three of them lined up and posed as if I'd put them there. It was beautiful. All symmetrical, adorable little faces lying on Mom's leg. Oh, it was so precious. It was in that exact spot. And that's what's fun about working in an area for a relatively long period of time. Because every corner you go around, you've got a memory associated with. Usually a good memory, hopefully a good memory. The next bend is where the Nkuhumas killed the buffalo. I mean, one of the many times they killed the buffalo. This is where I was on bushwalk with VM and I lost signal and I had to go back. I went to go racing back to Buffalo Dam. It's where Taylor and I tried to follow the lions off-road at night, relatively unsuccessfully, and they led us on a mad adventure through the bush in the dark. See what I mean? Lots of memories attached to different places. through the entire road. Seem to be fine. How much time have we got left? We're going to find these owls. You know what's going to happen, don't you? We're going to get there, and Byron's going to find them as we get there. Not that I begrudge you that, it's just going to be one of those things. It'll be Murphy's Law. Oh, speaking of birds and Byron, let's go and see which one he's found.
So we unfortunately have not found those owls at all. I know Jamie is heading into the area. Maybe she knows which tree to look at. There was a beautiful African hawk eagle though that we could see soaring above us. It's unfortunately drifting away from us at the moment. Very, very beautiful, beautiful bird. African hawk eagle. And there it goes. Speaking of Jamie, she's in front of us, so let's see if she has any luck with the owls, because I don't know where to look. Because some... Hi, morning! See if you can find them. I don't know which tree, I mean, I did...
The only reason I think I might is because I think I know which tree they're in.
Oh,
there for a week.
well then maybe, yeah, good luck, because also I did east and west, and...
Okay, cool. Not exactly easy to find, are they? Let's see. I'll try. We both try.
I hope you've got some luck. I hope you've got some luck. We're going to go and find wildlife.
Hello.
We'll see you all later. Cheers. Good luck. So now in a situation like that, I've got to remember who's live. Is it Jamie or me? Well, hopefully Jamie has some luck. But nice to see that African hawk eagle soaring above us. Now, usually they're in pairs, so I'm surprised I didn't see another one flying around. Perhaps that one's just busy looking for food, and the other one is possibly perched somewhere. And those birds, it's incredible, and you'll notice if you do see those birds of prey, the hawk eagles, anywhere or perched in a tree somewhere, you get guinea fowl or francolins nearby. Those birds are very, very nervous because those African hawk eagles will hunt them. And I have seen a guinea fowl get caught by an African hawk eagle before. They'll swoop down and ambush them and catch them with their very, very sharp talons. Really starting to warm up now. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning. Doesn't look like any cloud cover. Remember I said we should wait till about 8 o'clock to decide what the weather's going to do. So it appears as if it's going to be clear skies for most of the day, maybe later a bit of cloud cover. It's been happening a lot lately because of the building of rain. We can feel it in the air. There's this, there's a lot of humidity. The air is very, very thick at the moment. So hopefully we'll get some rain fairly soon. It is needed. And it'll also help cool down a little bit here. Big elephant roadblock there. We'll have to try and get somebody to come and move that tree. But that I think will need a chainsaw or a tractor. Alright, so we're going to continue our search for creatures and wildlife in general. Stef's still out in the...
Now, this piece of dung had us perplexed here for a bit. I'll show you why. I'm going to have a look here. Look at the size of the boluses here. They're just enormous. Here's my fist. You can see that they are just incredibly large. And my initial thoughts was because of the black color and the fibrousiness of it that it was hippo dung. But on closer inspection, And by using my nose, I could tell that it absolutely isn't. It's rhinoceros dung, which looks almost the same, with the exception that rhinoceros this time of the year can have quite a lot of sticks, and that's one of the things that gave it away for me, is the presence of these sticks. They're just very fibrous grass. Hippo don't eat that grass. And the lack of smell. The hippo dung has got quite a pungent smell to it. Now, Heather, you've asked me where did we get the name dung scat? And I've forgotten the last one now. Dung scat, and it'll come to me in a second. And you wanted to know, and poop, I suppose, is the one that's just come through me. So dung, scat, and poop, what are the three differences? I call this dung, Heather, and dung for me is anything that comes from a herbivore. So anything that's fibrous-y, that comes from an animal that eats plant material, I call dung. Poop for me is something that primates do, and I will refer to poop when it comes to, or feces when it comes down to primates or humans. And then scat is what I like to use for cats or for animals that eat meat or carnivores. I use the word scat. I suppose there's a definition in there somewhere along the line, but that is how I define what I use those particular words for. If you find anything different, if there is a difference to them, you're welcome to post it up on our Facebook page or send it to us via the hashtag Safari Live or to questions@WildEarthTV if you do find a difference. So for me, dung is herbivores, scat is carnivores, and poop is humans or primates. That's what I like to use there. And onward we go. I actually wanted to show you this. I thought it was hippo initially because right earlier on in the walk we saw that tiny little pile of hippo dung that looked very similar to a lion or to a baboon or to a hyena in actual fact, but it really was just a tiny hyena dung. Quite often you find hippo droppings this size. You know, the bolus that a hippo can form can quite easily be as big as this, if not bigger. And this is unfortunately not a hippo, but a rhinoceros, and a monstrous one. I saw that. VM says there's a millipede in here. That actually tickled my fancy. I learned something new this week that I'm going to share with you. And I always thought that millipedes like this are detritivores. In other words, they eat dead and decaying matter. I never knew that they were scavengers, and I especially didn't know that they can even be predaceous. And this week I learned both. I learned that a millipede like this can be seen eating other insects that have died, but will wrap themselves around an insect similar to how a python or an anaconda does, and will actually feed on an insect. I saw a picture that a friend of mine took this week of a millipede subduing a cricket and eating it. Isn't that incredible? I never knew that. That's a first for me. These millipedes are the most amazing things. Let's see if this one wants to play with us a little bit. You can see generally these youngsters can get quite feisty when you start to pick them up. Here's the ventral view of a millipede, not something that we see often. Now, at the base of the legs, there are 2 legs per segment. At the base of the legs is tiny holes, and from those holes comes a hydrocyanide, which then coats the body of the millipede with this very distasteful compound and makes them almost indigestible for most animals out here, except the civet, some scorpions, and a bird or 2. And funny enough, I also learned another thing this week from a friend of mine who has a bunch of rock monitors. He says they will also eat millipedes, and I never knew that. I never knew rock monitors ate millipedes. But he says his definitely do. The ones that they find in his garden, they eat. Isn't that just amazing? All these creatures that we find in this planet are just fascinating. Look at those antennae. That's how this millipede sees the environment around it. Much like we use our eyes and our senses, this millipede uses those two appendages on the front of its head. Awesome. Let's put you back where we found you, big guy, and cover you up so that you can stay hidden. All right, now we've come to that portion of the day where I have to say goodbye. Thank you very, very much for joining myself and VM and Herbie on the bushwalk this afternoon, or this morning at least anyway. We'll catch you a little bit later, and have a nice day wherever you are.
It's always wonderful to be on the walk with Stef and see all those beautiful little creatures that he manages to find. What is running through there? A small antelope, possibly a little Steenbok, everybody, just off to the left. Oh, two of them, there they go. Don't know if he'll get a view very quickly. There it goes. A shy little Steenbok. You can see how it's trying to hide away from us. So we've at least seen the two smallest antelope in this area, the Steenbok and the Duiker. And as I was saying, it's wonderful to see those little things on walks too, like a millipede and that. Very, very interesting. But nice to see these little antelope. And the Steenbok, funnily enough, and why we saw a pair of them, is generally the Steenbok are monogamous, so they end up mating for life. They'll stay in a pair, and they'll stay in the same territory or the same area, this pair, the male and female. Obviously, if something happens to one or the other one will then go and find a new mate. But they do end up spending most of their life together, which is very interesting for antelope. Very different to some of the other species, where, for example, in impala, a male will have a huge harem. He'll have a number of females which he'll try and mate with, and that's mainly during the rutting season. If he's big enough and strong enough to keep away other males, he'll be able to cover a number of females, but then he will be challenged again the following year by another male who will most likely take over that area and then try and mate with females. Michael, you want to know if all the ewes in an impala herd are all related? No, Michael, they won't be. So there'll be, I mean, there's a possibility that a male has. Possibly, if he's successful, he may cover 10, 15 or 20 females within a herd, and their offspring, technically, they are his then, so they could potentially be related in a sense, but also you'll have other males coming in and mating with those females too. During the rut, there's a lot of males that constantly fight for dominance, and different males will mate with the females within a particular herd. So it's not to say that the females or the ewes within that herd are all related. They could potentially be from other males. But if one male is very successful, he could cover quite a number of females. Hang on. I hear something, but I can't see it. Little bird. And it sounded like an owl. I could be mistaken. It sounded like the beginning calls of a little owl. I just want to have a look quickly and scan. This would be great. A little highlight for the end of the drive. Sounded like a little pearl-spotted owl. Am I mistaken? Sure. And in this tree, this dead tree with these very grey branches, this little bird will be very, very well camouflaged. I'm just going to reverse a little bit more. Just change our angle a little bit. Yeah. Like looking for a needle in a haystack. Come on, I'm sure I heard it calling. Eggsy, do you see anything yet? It appears as if all these little birds are invading me this morning. Anyway, that's the way it goes sometimes. No luck with our tracking this morning. Or some of these little owls, but a wonderful morning nonetheless. It was great to be out here, and we did have a wonderful morning driving around and finding the odd bird and little things. Let's head back to Jamie so she can say goodbye and end the show. Goodbye from myself and Eggsy on camera, and we'll see you this afternoon. Goodbye, everyone.
Well, no luck on my side, I'm afraid. The really bad news is they're not where I was sort of hoping they were going to be, which is in the tree that they know and love, and that we've seen them in on a relatively regular basis in the past. And they just aren't here. And I have searched and I have scoured in the same way that Byron has, and both of us have come up empty-handed, which is quite devastating. We tried though, and I better show you a picture of what it looks like, because otherwise you're going to go away completely empty-handed, and we'll have to try again this afternoon. This isn't actually the best diagram I've ever seen of a white-faced scops owl. It's a tiny, tiny little owl, and the cool thing about them, and the reason why we were so excited to find them for you, is they shapeshift. So this is their normal sort of shape, this is their normal phase, where they're squat and fat little things, all fluffed out and beautiful, but they do stretch up and look a little bit, they start to imitate a stick. They go very thin and very tall, and they look completely different. And usually this pair, you'll see one of them in that form and one of them in the slightly puffed out fat form. So, I don't know, we'll have to try again this afternoon. I'm sorry, we tried. Byron and myself, both of us tried to find them. Luckily, we were given a very definite tree. We were told they were in a bush willow. That's a bush willow, that's a bush willow, that's a bush willow, that's a bush willow, that's a bush willow. It's the most common tree species that we get out here. We're going to try again this afternoon. I was so hoping we could see them. They're such fascinating birds. Let me go slowly. We've still got 60 seconds. It's unlikely I'm going to spot them. No. Not this morning. But we did have a wonderful, wonderful morning spent with the impala lamb, the ground hornbill, the lion, the plum-coloured starling that disappeared and then came back again. All in all, I think Jean-Ray and myself have had fun today. Hello, Impala. And so a big thank you on that note to Jean-Ray for his wonderful camera work. As always, it was not his fault we were rocking like a boat earlier. It was, in fact, the camera's fault. And a big thank you to all of the Safari Live crew, for the cameramen, the directors in Final Control, which today is Rebecca, assisted by Jerry, and, of course, Alex, working to keep our tech all functioning. And a big thank you to all of you, most importantly, for joining us on our Sunrise Safari. I hope you had a joyful time. And for those of you celebrating Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. To the rest of you, I hope you have a wonderful time, regardless. See you in the Sunset Safari. Bye-bye, everybody.